lot of such vegetables. We will not talk about everything, but we have just selected a few that we would like to share with you today. So I am going to start a presentation just to give a bit of a background, and then also give SETCO intervention, what SETCO does. After me, there's going to be Mr. Mavuso, Christopher Mavuso, who is the representative of the SME director from the SME unit. He is the promotional officer. And our main act today will be Nkosi Gunene, the senior marketing extension officer from NAMBOD. So in terms of the outline, I've already touched on it, just what this webinar is about. Overview of SMEs in Eswatini. I might just touch one or two things, but Mavuso from SME unit is probably going to talk more about this. Vegetable production, just one or two statistics on imports and exports, and then get into the SETCO intervention. I might do the conclusion later as we finish our webinar today. We are hoping to be here for 1.5 hours, and after that we call it a wrap. So in terms of our program, as I have said, my name is Temba Dlamini, the Senior Manager Strategy and Organizational Performance here at SETCO. We are live on YouTube. We are also on Zoom. We are also on Facebook. So you can catch us in these 3 channels. If you go to the SETCO Facebook page, you can actually get the Zoom details, so that you can also log in on the Zoom details. I've already touched on the program today. After the NAMBOD presentation, we are going to take questions. So we're thinking of vegetable production in Eswatini. We are saying what are the opportunities in local and international markets for vegetable production. In fact, we are saying, is there a business case for high value crops? And especially in our case today, we're looking at non-conventional vegetables or baby vegetables. So amongst those vegetables, which of those can we prioritize in terms of entrepreneurship? Where are the opportunities there? So we'll speak more about that. We'll touch on which are these vegetables and the actual numbers in terms of the gross margins for these particular vegetables. So just to highlight, I'm not going to touch much on this, but in terms of the SME sector in Eswatini, agriculture and farming constitute 23%. Mavuso is going to touch on the overall SME sector in Eswatini. We are saying it contributes about 8.1% to 9%. Statistics of Entrepreneurial. Check 1 2. Check 1 2. Just checking audio. Just checking audio.
Sleep it. Yeah. Welcome to webinar.
Yeah, safuna setalo.
You can switch off the lights, our lights.
Ngicela uthesa.
Welcome to our webinar. We're just checking audio.
Check 1 2. Is the audio better now? Okay, thank you. All right. Thank you very much. Sometimes it's the interference. If you can switch off the light. Okay. Again, we can go on. All right, thank you. Our apologies, ladies and gentlemen. Again, we just want to welcome you to our webinar, Entrepreneurial Opportunities in Horticulture. I just step back a little bit, making a business case for baby vegetable production in Eswatini. My name is Temba Dlamini. In terms of our program today, just the objectives, the agenda for today we'll share. Mr. Mavuso is going to share an overview of SMEs in Eswatini in his presentation. We'll talk about a little bit of vegetable production, in terms of imports, exports, and then we'll talk of SETCO interventions. I'll come back later and do the conclusion at the end of our webinar. Welcome. So, in terms of our program, we have SETCO presentation, and then we have the representative of the SE unit director with us. He will make a presentation on policy perspectives in terms of SMEs and entrepreneurship in Eswatini. We will then have Numbot to do the main presentation for today. And then at the end, we'll have a questions and answer session. So we are thinking about today, how much vegetable production occurs in Eswatini. What are the opportunities in the local and also international markets? Is there a business case for high-value crops? And in our case today, we're saying non-conventional vegetables or baby vegetables, as we may know them. And then also, which amongst these non-conventional vegetables or which amongst these baby vegetables can we prioritize? And this is what Numbot is going to share with us today. We are going to get a little bit deeper with those that we have chosen to speak about today. We'll talk about, touch on the gross margins and give a bit of detail in terms of what the numbers tell us in terms of the profitability of these vegetables. So in terms of a little bit of an overview, Mr. Mavuso is going to touch on that, but what I want to touch on is that 23% of the SMEs in Eswatini are in agriculture. So this is following in terms of the wholesale and retail. Now, agriculture contributes about 8.1% of GDP in Eswatini. And then there are about 15,640 MSMEs in agriculture in Eswatini, according to the FinScope survey. In terms of employment contribution statistics for 2019, it's 12% for that. So we see that SMEs are a significant player in the economy, and they are quite important as an agent for social cohesion and integration. So we look at such interventions as we have today, providing supportive business conditions to allow these entrepreneurs to achieve their growth potential by participating in domestic and global value chains. So this is what we want to achieve today with our talk. Just a brief, we have seen that in terms of crop production between 2019 and 2021, we have seen basically a negative growth, in our figures. Yes, there was COVID, and there were mainly crops were negatively affected by heavy rains, which were accompanied by storms, in some instances flooding. So this is why, but hopefully after such intervention, some people will be encouraged to get into this space. If we look at food products import and export, this is 2021 statistics. Our country, in terms of food products, we imported about 9.65% of total imports. That's food products, but we exported about 31.02%. But we know that this is largely, livestock in terms of beef and also sugar cane. So, but we can see that as a country, we have a revealed comparative advantage in terms of food, export. So, the revealed comparative advantage is very helpful because it is used to help assess a country's export potential, and this RCA indicates whether a country is in the process of extending the products in which it has a trade potential, just as opposed to a situation in which the number of products that can be competitively exported is static. Now, when we see in terms of vegetables import and exports in Eswatini, we will then realize that we imported quite a lot. Our import stands at 9%, as opposed to our exports, which are at about 1%. So we are importing a lot more vegetables into Eswatini, and in particular the non-conventional vegetables in Eswatini. And you can see then that our revealed comparative advantage in terms of
the vegetables is still low as a country. Yet you can see that in terms of food export, it's quite high. That means that might actually mean that we might need to do a lot more in just not just taking out the raw crop unprocessed, but perhaps we might look at value addition as a way in terms of enhancing our comparative advantage as a country. So with that, I want to jump in now. With that background, I want to jump into the SETCO services, what we as SETCO provide, especially in today's context where we want to talk of how we make business sense out of vegetable or vegetable production. So as SETCO, we provide capacity development. We train on entrepreneurship. The important thing again is record keeping. Most of us do agriculture farming as a by the way, and we want to inculcate the spirit of taking these agricultural enterprises as a business and be serious about it. And therefore, we come in as SETCO. We can teach you as the entrepreneur on general entrepreneurship, the importance of record keeping, and take you step by step on what you should do in terms of your costing and pricing. What other ideas are there around the agricultural space and baby vegetable production in terms of value addition? We'll help you with business planning and customer care, and just setting up your structure if you are now looking to grow your enterprise, how to set up yourself in terms of managing your business. We are big in terms of business counseling and advisory services at SETCO. We are working with the Youth Fund to coach and mentor those that the beneficiaries under the Youth Fund program. So a lot of those projects are agro-based projects. So then we'll help with preparation of financial statements and management accounts, tax returns, practical costing when we're in the field with you, practical costing and pricing. And then if you want to supply government, the public sector tendering, we also assist with that. So most of the farm enterprises are not registered. It is important that your enterprise is registered so that you can benefit in many programs such as Mr. Mavuso will come after me, will talk about in terms of the financial schemes that you can benefit from to grow your business. So we'll help with company registration here at SETCO. We'll help with obtaining a trading license, your application for that, and also the renewal, your share certificate, and other issues of corporate governance. And then we are wanting to create business linkages. This is why we are with Numbord here today as a marketing agent. We want to work with them, take our local entrepreneurs to different fairs and create such opportunities where we expose our entrepreneurs to different markets. And then we are in the process of facilitating business information sharing by establishing business information centers, and then facilitate business sharing forums for our SMEs. We do a lot of advocacy for market access for SMEs together with our different partners, whether it is Numbord or Eastwade or the ministry itself. So SETCO is known for its business incubation services. So we do provide workspace, particularly if you now are looking at processing. So you can come to us and we can assist with placing you in one of our facilities and see how you establish yourself as a business. Ladies and gentlemen, with that, I would like to say thank you. At this point, I am going to move on and ask Christopher Mavuso, the representative of the SME director, to take the podium and just share with us in terms of the policies perspectives as a ministry. What are they looking at in terms of growing this particular sector, working with the different stakeholders that we have in our country? I will step aside from here and ask Mr. Mavuso to take the podium. Over to you, Nel.
Thank you very much, Mr. Dlamini. Good morning, viewers. As I've been introduced, my name is Sibongenkosi Christopher Mavuso from the Ministry of Commerce, Industry and Trade. My presentation will be on policy perspective on SME development in the Kingdom of Eswatini. I will start my presentation is structured as follows. I will start by the definition of SMEs in the Kingdom and also touch on the mandate of the SME unit, also talk about the policy objective, and also the sector analysis of the SME in the Kingdom. I'll also touch on the industrial profile of SMEs in the Kingdom, and also go deep on strategic pillars of the SME national policy. Then I will end my presentation with the government scheme which government have created to support MSMEs. This is the definition of SMEs in the Kingdom of Eswatini. The SMEs are classified by 3 categories: the value of assets, the number of employees, and the value of turnover. So we have the micro, small, and medium. In terms of the micro, for value of asset, you have to be under 50,000 emalangeni. In terms of staff employed, you should be employing 1 to 3 people. And then in terms of turnover, your turnover should be up to 60,000 emalangeni. For a small company, the value of assets, it's between 50,000 to 2 million. The number of employees, it's between 4 to 10 people. Then the value of turnover is up to 3 million. Then for medium enterprises, the value of asset should be between 2 million and 5 million. Then the number of employees, it's 11 to 50 employees. Then the value of turnover is up to 8 million. But if we mainly prioritize on the number of employees. If, say, your employees, it's less than 50, so that is the priority in the categorization. Then the mandate of the SME unit. Our responsibility is coordinating the implementation of the MSME policy, which have 7 strategic pillars, which I will touch on. The policy objective is to foster economic growth in the development of the economy of Eswatini. We have seen across the world that MSMEs are key drivers of economic development, hence the need to support SMEs. Also to increase the employment opportunities. With the number of unemployment in the Kingdom, SMEs plays a key role in creating employment. Also, another objective is to alleviate poverty by creating access to sustainable livelihoods. Also, another objective is to increase levels of ownership in the economy for indigenous Maswati. We have seen that Maswati mostly are not in business. They only prefer going to school to be employed. Hence, we want to encourage Maswati to venture into business. In terms of the sector analysis, we will be looking at 2 reports, one which was done in 2010 and the latest done in 2017. From 2010, you can see we had a total number of 4,926 MSMEs in the Kingdom. Then fast forward 2017, we have around 59,283, which is a big growth. Hence, the ministry is happy that Maswati are venturing into business. In terms of sector analysis, we are analyzing the top 5 sectors in the Kingdom. We have compared Eswatini with another 2 countries in the region. So we can see that the wholesale and retail is dominating in terms of percentage. As we can see, we have 39% eMaswati are in wholesale and retail trade. Then agriculture comes second with 23%. Then community and household at 14%. Then manufacturing is at 13%. And lastly, construction is at 3%, which is a little bit challenge because as a country, we aspire to be an agriculture-driven economy. Hence, we are expecting to see agriculture dominating. Also, in terms of comparing Eswatini with the other countries, we can see that we are doing better as a country in agriculture, but I feel we can still do more. Apologies. Okay. Okay, then I will come. Oh, okay. In terms of the industrial profile of SMEs in the country, like my colleague has highlighted that agriculture is contributing around 9% of GDP in the country, which is also a concern because we aspire to be an agriculture-driven economy. Hence, we should be seeing agriculture with more numbers in terms of GDP contribution. Hence, we want to invite eMaswati to go into agriculture since there are opportunities there. Then in terms of the policy strategic pillars, we have 8 of them. We want to increase access to finance. We have most of the SMEs in the kingdom have complained about the lack of finance. What we have done as a ministry, through support from UNECA, we have developed a financing model. We get technical assistance whereby a consultant came to the country to interview SMEs and financial institutions. However, the results came out that finance is there in the kingdom. All the financial institutions confirm that there is available finance. However, the problem is that most of the SMEs in the kingdom are not finance ready. Then pillar number 2, we want to strengthen MSME business support institutions and structures, institutions like the SEDCOs, because we have seen that we do not have the culture of entrepreneurship in the country, hence the need to support these institutions. We also want to strengthen the legislative and regulatory framework for development of MSMEs. What we have done now, we have a citizen economic empowerment bill, which is aimed at prioritizing SMEs in terms of your government procurement to allow SMEs to be in the business. Pillar number 4, we want to promote and develop a culture of entrepreneurship and innovation. As we all know, in the Kingdom of Eswatini, our education system, we want to go to school and later get employment. Hence, we do not have the culture of entrepreneurship. Most of those who are in business go to business because they are not yet employed. When they eventually get employed, they leave the business. So we want to develop the culture of entrepreneurship in the kingdom because we have seen that SMEs are key drivers of economic development. We also want to strengthen the domestic and international competitive of MSMEs in the country. Most MSMEs in the Kingdom of Eswatini are trading domestic. Hence, we want to make them ready to export and compete with MSMEs from other countries. Hence, we have done a number of interventions to assist them. We have trained them on standards because when you want to go and sell your product outside the country, you need your products you should follow standards. Then we also want to define and recognize the informal trade sector. We have seen that most of business people in the country are informal. They are not registered. Hence, they lose in most of the interventions what government is doing to support them. Hence, we want to recognize them and take them to the formal economy. We also want to develop and improve the position and support of MSMEs owned by women, youth, and disadvantaged group. We have seen that most MSMEs owned by women and the youth are facing a number of challenges. Hence, we want to develop and improve their position so that they can compete with those MSMEs owned by their male counterpart. We also want to improve dialogue between stakeholders. Hence, what we are doing today with SEDCO, we collaborate with stakeholders and improve the SME sector. In terms of what we have done so far in implementing those pillars, for access to finance, I've already covered that we have developed a financing model which is aimed at making MSMEs financing ready. With the support of SEDCO, we have trained about 80 MSMEs in terms of business development so that they can be finance ready. Also, in terms of strengthening the business support institution, we are in collaboration with the Central Statistics Office to do an SME survey. As the survey we are currently referring to, it's long overdue. Then we also want to train and develop a training and development program for SMEs. So through SEDCO, we have developed a number of programs to assist MSMEs. There are programs in Reto like Tichange Business and many more. We also want to, in terms of strengthening the legislative and regulatory framework, we have developed a citizens' economic empowerment bill. Like I have touched on, the bill is aimed at prioritizing MSMEs in terms of preferential procurement. Let's say you want to do business with government. It should be mandatory that government should support at least 30% to SMEs. Okay. Apologies. In terms of promoting and developing the culture of entrepreneurship, we have a number of interventions. Like the financing model came out and recommend that most SMEs should be trained so that they can be finance ready. We have partnered with a number of stakeholders who are in the training space to assist the minister in training the MSMEs. Also, in terms of strengthening the domestic and competitive of MSMEs, what we have done so far, we have trained a number of SMEs in different sectors in terms of international standards and quality management system, so that they can be ready to take their products outside the country. In terms of positioning and supporting MSMEs owned by women, the youth and disadvantaged group, for women, we have developed a market called the Trade Hub, situated in Manzini, which assists women. Previously, they were trading under the sun, and through support from international partners, we managed to build a structure which is suitable for them to do business. In terms of defining and recognizing the MSME informal trade sector, through our programs, we have all the time encourage MSMEs to get in the mainstream economy, because they lose on support which government is doing to support MSMEs. Take for instance, if they want to access finance, you cannot go to the bank and access the products we have if you are not registered. In terms of improving dialogue between key stakeholders, we have done a number of interventions. We have conducted regional seminars and bring forward a number of stakeholders who are in the MSME ecosystem. Then, coming to the financial schemes which government have developed to support MSMEs. Like I've mentioned earlier, for you to access these financial products, you need to be registered. Hence, we encourage MSMEs to register their businesses. We have the 45 million MSME revolving fund. This scheme is held at Eswatini Bank, which benefits informal and formal businesses. Business people can get up to a maximum of 100,000 with a repayment period of 36 months, and the interest are favorable at 5.5%. We also have the Informal Traders Revolving Fund, which is targeting the mostly informal businesses. This scheme is for the youth and women, which are this scheme is housed at FinCorp and benefits informal traders. You can get a loan of up to 5,000, which is payable over 6 months and at an interest of 1%. Hence, we encourage business people, especially those who are in micro businesses, to make use of this fund. We also have the Youth Enterprise Revolving Fund. This scheme is for the youth between 13 and 34 and is managed by the Youth Enterprise Fund, whereby an individual can get a loan of up to 150,000. We also have a small-scale guarantee scheme. This is a guarantee scheme developed by the Ministry of Commerce to assist MSMEs to easily access finance, because most of the time when they go to the bank will require a collateral. Hence, the government, through the Ministry of Commerce, developed this scheme to act as a collateral. So a business can be provided a collateral of up to 95% if you are a startup business, and up to 85% if you are already in business. Here, a business, you can be guaranteed up to $1 million, which means if you want 1 million, you need to have 5% of that portfolio. We also have the Export Credit Guarantee Scheme, which has a guarantee capacity of up to 2.5 million. We also encourage Maswati, especially those who are in agriculture, to make use of the scheme, because currently it is not being utilized. Hence, we encourage Maswati, especially those who want to export and are in agriculture, to make use of the scheme. Oh, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I think we will ask now. NAMBOD is going to come and do a presentation. Just opening it up. We'll do both the PowerPoint presentation as well as when we speak to the gross margins. We'll go to an Excel spreadsheet that we will be using. Otherwise, thank you very much, Mr. Mavuso, for that. I'm going to encourage you to ask questions at the end of the session after the NAMBOD presentation. So at this juncture, I'd like to welcome Dombi Nkosi Kunene from NAMBOD. Take over.
Good morning, listeners. My name is Kunene Nkosi from the National Agricultural Marketing Board. So I'll be presenting on the entrepreneurial opportunities in horticulture. Just to be specific, I will present on making business sense of baby vegetable production in Eswatini. So my presentation outline will be on 3 items: the NAMBOD services, production of baby vegetables, and lastly, the gross margins. The National Agricultural Marketing Board is meant to facilitate markets for local farmers in and outside the country, to assist farmers with production, with processing, with storage, transportation, as well as distribution of products around the country and outside the country. Okay, sorry for that. NAMBOD, let's talk about the service that NAMBOD provides. We have the trade and regulations, which is meant for the import and export monitoring. We also have the registration of traders, This is where people register their permits, whether it's export permits and import permits. We also have the Englabeni Fresh Produce, which provides market channel for various fresh produce. This consists of conventional vegetables, baby vegetables, as well as fruits. We also have the high care unit, which is for processing the vegetable, especially baby vegetables, into mixed vegetables. And still under the Englabeni Fresh Produce, we have the logistics support. These are the trucks or the vehicles that collects produce from farmers, and it has a cold chain. Lastly, we have the quality assurance department, which makes sure that what comes in the market is of good quality. Lastly, we have the Farmer Support Development Unit, which is also housed at Englabeni. It is the input shop where farmers buy fertilizers, they buy seeds and buy chemicals. And we have a seedling supply unit where farmers get the seedlings of any crop that they want to plant. We also have the Extension Services Department, which is meant to capacitate farmers and assist in farmer enrollment at NAMBOD. So, we are going to discuss the types of baby vegetables that we have. We have legumes. Legumes are divided into two. We have peas, and we also have green beans. We also have brassicas. Brassicas comes in form of Savoy, which is the small cabbage. We have red cabbage. We also have green cabbage. And then we have baby corn. Lastly, we have cuckoo beets. Cuckoo beets is a family that is made of baby marrow, yellow petipen, and green petipens. Now, to discuss further on the production of baby vegetables, on why we have to produce them, when do we have to produce them, how do we have to produce them. Okay, the first question one may ask is, why do I have to grow baby vegetables? It's because they are early maturing. Most of them takes 2 months or less to harvest. So another reason one can engage in growing vegetables is because they attract a premium price, because they are a high value crops, which means that it's fast cash crop, and also of the high nutritional value. So we encourage growers, farmers to also eat the baby vegetables that they grow. And lastly is the plant population. You plant more in a smaller field. Someone can also engage in a hectare growing baby vegetables, but can still make a profit. So how to produce baby vegetables? You need to have a land size which is a minimum of 0.5 hectares in order to realize profit. You need to do soil test. Luckily, our government of Eswatini has soil testing labs in each and every region of the country. And then you amend the soil according to the soil results, according to the recommendations that you got. So it's either you get organic fertilizer, which is crow manure or compost, or you can also use inorganic fertilizer, which is basil and top dressing. Luckily, the soil test usually have fertilizer recommendations. And then land preparation should be done properly, and crop rotation. Land preparation is also done according to the type of baby veg that you are going to plant. Irrigation should also be properly. Baby vegetables do not depend on rainfall. You need to have a proper irrigation system, and the most preferred is the drip irrigation. It doesn't necessarily mean that you cannot use drip, or you cannot use sprinkler or furrow. You can use them, but the most preferred is the drip. The issue of record keeping is also important. So in our case, because farmers are always busy and tired, you need to have production records. That is, when did you plant, when did you harvest, when did you apply fertilizer, how much did you apply, which chemical did you spray. So production records are also important. as well as financial records, where you are going to record your cash inflows and your cash outflows. And we are lucky that we have Setco who provides the services on the financial records. So we are going to touch on few baby vegetables that are mostly grown in the country, that are mostly supplied and that are mostly exported. Legumes. We said our legumes is got green beans and green peas. The plant population for both legumes is 60 to 80 kg per hectare. It's 60 to 80 kg per hectare. So we also have our planting calendar there, which is got our B, which is best planting time. Our S stands for suitable planting time, and our N stands for non-suitable for planting. So we also have our green beans and our peas and our agroecological regions, which is the high veld, low veld, and the middle veld. So green beans, as you can see, most of them are grown in summer. So we can see that the month of April, May, June, and July is not suitable for growing. Is not suitable for planting planting green beans in winter. It's only the low veld which is supposed to be our hub for baby vegetables in winter. And then we have our peas, vis-a-vis. It is peas are doing well in winter, and in all the regions they do well. With the high veld, we have most of the months where peas are grown, and the middle veld. Our low veld is not suitable for the peas in summer because it's very hot, since peas are a winter crop. So in the application of fertilizer, fertilizers depends on the soil test recommendations, because they come as an annex from your soil test. But under normal circumstances, you can use 23439 for basal dressing, 200 to 250 kg per hectare. That is 4 to 550 kgs per hectare, which is recommendable at planting. And for top dressing, you can use 150 to 200 kgs of LAN 3 weeks after planting. That is 3 to 4 bags of 50 kgs. With chemicals, which is one of the most important issue, you need to get advice from extension officers that you work with, and you need to make it a norm that whatever chemical that you buy, you read and understand the chemical label. You need to adhere to withdrawal periods that are written there. We have issues of exporting baby vegetables that have chemical residue, and that distorts our relationship with the markets in the outside countries. So we need to make sure that we get proper advice on chemicals. And then the yield, when to harvest. Both legumes take 60 days to harvest, which is 6 months, which is 2 months. And the tonnage that you can get from producing peas and green beans is 5 to 8 tons per hectare with selected varieties. So we are talking about 5,000 to 6 to 8,000 metric tons per hectare. So moving on to the production of cocoa beets. As I've mentioned earlier, cocoa beets is a family of baby marrow, yellow petipan and green petipan. So the production of those 3 commodities is very easy. It's very simple. So the plant population is going to be 12,000 to 15,000 seeds per hectare. That will depend on the way you plant. Some farmers have adopted the double line spacing when growing vegetables, and some are still using the single line planting. We also have a planting calendar for cocoa beets. In the high veld, they do well in summer. They are sensitive to frost, and in the middle veld, they also do well in summer. In the low veld, once again, I can say this is a hub for us in the country, where we can get baby vegetables, the cucurbits and the green beans in winter. So Spofaneni region, Lubombo region or the Lowveld region, please represent us on this one. So as well as the planting, we should be coordinated with the officers in that region. Fertilizers are also dependent on the fertility of the soils, and you also need to go back to look at the recommendations. Still under normal circumstances, we use the 23439, and we also use 200 kg of LAN. So as a farmer, you also need to frequently visit your field so that you can see what you can add, what you can use to make your vegetables more lively. Some farmers can go to an extent of using foliar feed fertilizers like the V12, the Seagrow, the multi-feed. So it is important to make sure that you visit your field each and every day. So cucurbits takes 35 days to harvest, as I've mentioned earlier. That one of the advantages of growing baby vegetables is that they mature early. The tonnage is 5 to 8 tons per hectare with the selected varieties. Now, NAMBOD do buy baby vegetables, but we do have other markets that farmers can sell to, like the Stemane farms, which export to South Africa and EU markets. We also have Mr. Veggies, which is a company owned by Swazi. We also have Veggie With. They concentrate most in high care, which is the processing of baby vegetables. And we also have retail shops. Currently, we do have farmers that are supplying Pick and Pay. They are supplying OK Foods, and they are supplying Spar. And some have gone to an extent of supplying hotels. Apologies. So now with our gross margins, we are going to look at the green beans, peas, and baby marrow, which are mostly grown in the country and mostly exported out of the country. So when we talk about gross margins, this is the difference between the gross income and the variable cost. In case of green beans, so our gross margins is going to be divided into two. We will have them in a hectare, and we are also going to have them in a half a hectare. So we said the yield of between 5 and 8 tons. So in this case, we have used 7 tons, and a ton of green bean is 16,000 emalangeni. So to get the sales, it's 7 tons multiplied by 16,000 emalangeni of a hectare to get the 112,000. So that is our sales for green beans. And then we have our variable cost. These are the costs that changes, like the seed, the fertilizers, the chemicals, which fluctuates, and they depend on the market prices. So we have the seed, which is 80 kg per hectare, and the cost units per seed is 305 emalangeni. But in order to save, you can also buy these seeds in bigger quantities as compared to the kg. And then there's a section of land preparation, as I've mentioned. That is also an important part in growing vegetables. You need to plow, you need to disc, and you also need to reach, because we have so many rains these days. So ridging can also help in saving the plant from water, from rainfall water. So we also have the cost for plowing, and then we have fertilizers. We have the LAN, we have lime. We usually apply lime once in 3 years. That is after doing the soil test. After 3 years, you need to do the soil test once again. So we didn't include the figure of lime because that is done once a year. And we also have chemicals that we can use. As you can see, we have V12 micro and V12 multi. Those are the foliar feed fertilizers that I've talked about that you need to use in order to enhance the growth of the plants. And then we come to chemicals. Our chemicals are divided into two. We have fungicides and we also have pesticides. So when you are doing your spraying, you need to apply both a chemical from the fungicide side and the chemical from the insecticide side. So in this case, we used Bravo, which is a fungicide, and GF120, pesticides, cypermethrin, and new film. So I would advise each and every farmer out there to buy chemicals, to plan and buy chemicals before engaging in farming. And then we have labor cost. We sometimes overlook this one because we usually use family labor, but now let's take it to commercial level. You need to have labor for planting, fertilizer application, weed, side dressing, pest and disease control, that is our spraying, and we need to have money for transport because you need to buy inputs from input shops which are in town and then take them to your farm. So, and then we have our total variable cost, which is the sum of all the items that I've mentioned. And then we have our gross profit, which is 112,000 less 50,890, which is our gross profit, to get 61,110. And then we have our gross margin there. They're at 55%. That means 55% of the total sales of green beans is profit. You can tell that you can make money when growing green beans. But the most important part in growing baby vegetables, it's the harvesting part. The vegetative part is very easy. So we have many post-harvest losses due to harvesting. So one of the most important activities is harvesting. So you need to train people who are going to harvest. This can be done by our NAMBOD quality officers and our extension officers. You can as well, we encourage that farmers form groups so that it's easier to train them. Baby vegetables, as in all of them, we harvest them usually 3 times a week. So you really need a labor to harvest them. Moving on to baby marrow. So this is almost the cucurbits family. The costs are almost the same, except for the seed part where the green petipen and yellow petipen are a bit expensive compared to the baby marrow. So we will get, when growing baby marrow, the sales that we get is 13,000 per hectare and 8 tons per hectare. So if we say 8 times 13, we get 104,000 per hectare, which is our revenue. And then we have our variable costs. We have our seed. So the seeds usually comes in thousands and in 2,500. So you need to make sure that you buy them such that we reach a quantity of 14,000 or 15,000 if that's a hectare. And then we need to do land preparation. So it also depends on the region that you are situated in. In some regions where it is rainy, like the Highveld, we encourage that you reach. So hence, that's why you see the plowing, the disking, and the ridging. We also have fertilizers, lime, and the V12 under the variable cost. We also have our chemicals, the fungicides, and the insecticides. And then we have labor. As you can see, the labor for harvesting is very high compared to the other cost, to the other variable cost. So with baby marrow, our gross profit is 51,870. Once again, we have a gross margin of 50%, which means 50% of the total sales is the produce. And then we have sugar snap peas. With peas, we have two different types of peas that are grown in the country. One is called the mango toad peas, and the other one is called sugar snap peas. I've also forgot to mention that you need to engage with your market before planting. That one is very important, so that you know what to plant, what variety to plant, when to harvest it, because some markets prefer maybe green beans extra fine or fine beans. So it is very important to engage with your market before you plant. So when the tonnage for peas is 6 tons and the sales is 16,000 per tons, 16,000 per ton. So when we multiply the tonnage by the cost of by the sale of by 16,000, you get 96,000. And then we also have our variable cost even in this sugar snap peas gross margins, which is land preparation, the chemicals, the labor cost involved. And peas are a bit different from the other vegetables that we've talked about. They need trellising, so we have an additional cost of trellising, whereby the quality that is required by the market. So we also have our gross profit, which is 36,000, and our gross margin, which is 38% of the total sales are profit. So I think our presentation will end here. So if you want to engage in baby vegetable growing, you can contact our regional officers. We have Sipho Dlamini from the whole region. His contact is 79 from Hoho North, that is from Komanzi up to Matamo, going down to Madlangampisi. His contact is 7927-8309. We have Bandile Mavuso from Hoho South. His contact is 7927-8309. We also have Manzini East Officer Slombo Matanzimo. His contact is 7927-8313. We also have Manzini West, David Ndluli. His contact is 7927-8320. Shiseleni East, it's Velenkosini Dlamini, 7927-8323. Shiseleni West, we have Sandy Lemkonta, 7927-8310. And then we have Lubombo. We have Pues Konze, 7927-8308. And then we have Ngamiso Zulu in Lubombo, 7927-8311. So in case you didn't get the contact for all the officers, you can call the Namboard office. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ntombi Ngosi. If we had a live audience, perhaps they can do that where they are. We are going to answer session. I am going to ask that you continue to send your questions. I have already got a couple of questions. I know that some of it has been covered, but I think the first question, in fact, you might have touched on this, Ntombengos, which is the best or suitable environment for growing baby vegetables like cucurbits? Is it open field under shade nets? Can you use a microphone?
Thank you for the question. We use both, but the best is to use the shade net because we have adverse weather conditions like due to climate change. Now we have hailstorm damage and there's too much sunlight, so you need to prevent them from those harsh weather conditions. So those farmers that are using shade nets are benefiting more, and there's lower chances of pests in and out of your field since it's protected. So the best is the shade net.
Okay, thank you. I think this one touches on the water requirements for growing baby vegetables compared to the conventional vegetables. So what is the water requirements for growing baby vegetables compared to the conventional vegetables? Would you say they use a lot more water or a lot less water?
I think this one depends on the type of vegetables, but since their growing period is very minimal compared to the conventional vegetables, they can use a bit less, but you need to harvest them and you need to water them until the last day of harvesting, because their freshness comes from the water. That is why I've mentioned earlier that baby vegetables do not depend on rainfall. Yet we do have some conventional vegetables depending on rainfall. So these may contradict a bit, but we do need irrigation water more in baby vegetables than in conventional vegetables.
All right, thank you. I think your questions keep coming. In terms of a question asking, let me see, where can we get production guides for baby vegetables? Is there any publications? Like, for instance, the gross margins that you were sharing.
No, the gross margins has not been published yet, but we do have soft copies of the gross margins. With the baby vegetable production guide, we are in a processing of having one published, since we have a current book of conventional vegetables that has been published. I think we will have one soon.
Thank you. There's one question by Njabolo Mdluli. I'm not sure if you'd want to recast your question. I'm trying to make sense of it, but whilst we focus on some other questions, I'm asking Njabolo if you can redo your question so that it's clearer. The next question, do your extension officers provide hydroponics farming support?
For now, no one provides it in our extension officer team.
Okay, thank you. Just to go back to your gross margin presentation, if I got you well, you said that in terms of the profits, the gross profits, with green beans, you probably get 61,000 emalangeni. This is after 2 months or 3 months of growing this crop.
This is after 2 months of growing these crops and 5 weeks of harvesting. Or I can say all in all, it's 3 months.
So all in all, it's 3 months, and you have 61,000 emalanga in your pocket.
Yes.
Yeah, I wanted just for you to explain to the layman, this gross profit of 61,000 is what I take and go and support my family.
Yes. Okay. The gross margin comes from the sales, from the difference of the sales and the total variable cost. So in this case, it's the 112,000 less the variable cost, which is 50,890. So you take the 61,000 home and enjoy with your family.
So basically, we are saying this is it's a viable business case. Again, with the baby marrows, it's a gross profit of 51,000. How much is the demand for these two?
Locally, the consumption rate is not that high. This is evident because some farmers have supplied the local shops, but they end up with a surplus, which is then supplied to NAMPOD, and then NAMPOD exports. So the demand is very, very high in our export market, and it attracts a good price when exporting.
Okay, thanks. I'm just still waiting for Njabulo. I think this is a question. I think this is a question for the SME unit in terms of the financing model, but I'm not getting the question clearly. Let me see if I can try and interpret what I see. In terms of the financing model, is it sensitive to micro, small, and medium enterprises? Is it friendly? This is how I am interpreting this question, to the needs of micro, small, and medium enterprises. What were the responsive measures? Did you okay, it seems like, did you engage stakeholders when coming up with the financing model? What did the stakeholders say, and did you take that into account when you were developing the financing model?
Thank you very much. Yes, stakeholders were consulted. The consultant came in the country and do his consultation with all relevant stakeholders. The MSMEs, the financial institutions, other stakeholders were also consulted. Hence, the results came out that the actually finance is available in the country. Yet most MSMEs do not present projects which are financeable. So what the model recommends that is that the SMEs should be trained so that they can be finance ready. Hence, there were programs which were supported by SETCO to train MSMEs so that they can be finance ready. Recently, we trained about 80 MSMEs so that they can be finance ready. We are still waiting to take them to the financial institutions to see if indeed they will get the finance. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Nele. The questions from Sibusiso Mnisi. How can NAMBOD, or can NAMBOD share on how, what is the baby vegetable demand in the domestic market, and if the suppliers are able to satisfy the markets? Our take is they are not, because most retailers import. Is it true or an assumption?
It's true. I think this has to do with the programming of the farmers, because most of the retailers complain of inconsistency of supply. You find that when that region, when it's suitable to grow maybe green beans in that regions, everyone is growing green beans. So then when it's not the season, the other region is not growing. So you find that the inconsistency then pushes the retailers to go to South Africa and then buy the vegetables there. Otherwise, the demand, even the demand is not that high in the country, since in our diet, as you know, everyone grows, you only realize of baby vegetables when you are a bit older, or when you are from that medium class type of family. Otherwise, we still have a job to sensitize Swazis to eat baby vegetables. Thank you.
All right, just to cross over to you, Ngele, there's a question in terms of there are a lot of losses in production due to bad weather. Are there any schemes that are there to help farmers that have suffered from such situations? Any in terms of your financial schemes that you spoke about? Are there any that cover insurance, insurance?
Thank you very much. Unfortunately, no. The ones we have, they are not discriminative. So any type of business can access those. We do not have specific for insurance in agriculture. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Maybe to add to answer again, I think there are some insurance companies locally that now provide agricultural insurance that farmers can approach. I wouldn't mention names here, but just in avoiding to leave some others. But our national insurance, Eswatini Royal Insurance Corporation, and also Lidwala, they can assist in terms of what they provide in terms of agricultural insurance. In moving on from Claycomb farms to Nambod, are peas able to grow on frosty areas during winter? Maybe you can take this one as well from Kosing Pile Dlamini. What are the requirements for SMEs to acquire market from Nambod? I think it's the registration requirements to be able to supply Nambod. Yeah, those two.
Thank you very much. The first one about peas. Peas do grow well in cold weather, but they are sensitive to frost, especially when they are at harvesting stage. But they do well in cold temperatures. When it comes to Zephyr frost, they don't survive. Then on the second one, on the contract requirements, we have 4 items that you need to do in order to have our contract. You need to have a land which is 0.5 hectares so that it makes business sense on investing on it. You need to have soil tests and then amend the soil according to the test. You need to have irrigation water all year round, and then you need to have a fenced land, and then our extension officer can go to your field and verify whether you do have these things that I've mentioned, and then you sign a contract with Nambod. Thank
you. Okay, I think let me just check those. One more question from Anastasia. Thanks for the initiative. Presentations team to SADCO. Are your services available for or friendly to MSMEs understanding their financial status that are services like business planning, customer care for free, to answer this question, SETCO does charge for the services that they offer. SETCO charges at a cost recovery basis. As a government entity, we're not looking to make profit out of this, but to be able to sustain the business of providing such services. So certainly you will find that in terms of the pricing of the services, SETCO will be the lowest in the market, simply because SETCO has a development mandate from the government and supported by the government to offer these services. So for further information, you can contact us. We'll be happy to share with you our pricing for the different. I think you mentioned business planning, customer care, training, and all that. I should mention that also SETCO has introduced online training, entrepreneurship training, which is more affordable. It's 920 for the entire entrepreneurship course, and it's online. You can do it at your own pace. It covers everything entrepreneurship, and yes, you have to finish the course in 1 month, but you can take your time and submit the assignments, and you'll get awarded with the certificates. Thank you. The question I have again is, do you have the latest SME policy for the country, or the pillars presented were for the old policy? From Mawenzi.
Thank you very much. We are in a process of reviewing the MSME policy. Unfortunately, the ones we have now are for the old MSME policy. Now we are at the consultative stage. I think anytime soon we will convince stakeholders for the consultation of reviewing the new policy. Thank you very much.
All right. As we draw towards a close, one question: can farmers who have a contract with NAMBOD also sell directly to other markets?
Thank you for the question. Farmers that have contract with NAMBOD cannot sell to other markets, but we do provide extension services to farmers that are not contracted with NAMBOD. Reason being is that the time we contract you to grow a certain vegetable, we also inform the market about the availability. So the moment you grow and sell to another market, then it distorts our relationship with the market that we have promised to supply. But we still do provide our trainings, the extension, to anyone who's not contracted. Thank you.
Thank you. Maybe a related question to this one is from Bongosi Kabela. In terms of the markets, is it possible for me as a farmer to export the vegetables without selling it to NAMBOD?
Thank you, Bongosi. It's possible to export without selling to NAMBOD, but you will need NAMBOD's guidance in terms of the requirements for export. We do have a program that we are rolling out, whereby we train farmers on the expectations, like the global gap, the global good agricultural practices that you need to adhere to before you export. So NAMBOD will assist in that regard, even if you are not contracted. Thank you.
Okay, so thank you very much. I am not seeing any more questions. I think there was just one that was asking about the availability of soft copies for the different presentation, and yes, we can make those available. Provide a link for people to access these copies. At this point, we just want to conclude by thanking all of you for being following us on this webinar. Yes, there are challenges to starting up a business in baby vegetable production, but we believe that if you approach NAMBOARD in terms of the technical aspects, you can get assistance, and then in terms of the business aspects of running your business, SETCO is certainly willing to help you, especially the first things, registration and making your business plan convincing. That is a bankable, viable and bankable business plan. We want to again reiterate that we make the information available to you through a link we'll paste on our social media platforms, that is Facebook, as well as Twitter and also on LinkedIn. Thank you very much, Dombe Nkosi, and thank you very much, Mr. Mavuso, for your presentation. With that, ladies and gentlemen, we have come to an end of our webinar. Thank you.